Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, very good. My name is Ayodeji. I'm also one of the co-founders of Jobberman. I guess the theme of today is really around technology and entrepreneurship. And I think one key thing that is lacking, or I've not really seen so much in Nigeria, is people thinking about how to create value. And I think value creation is very important. And if you're a value-centered person, then you start seeing opportunities when everybody is shouting Boko Haram today, Nyanya tomorrow, Jonathan next week. And I think where you have the greatest challenges and the greatest distress or greatest problems, that's where you have the greatest opportunities. And I think that's also the story around Nigeria growing at maybe a rate of 7% over the last, or 6.5% over the last 5 years. Those kind of growth, you don't get them anywhere else in the world. Whether you're talking about Europe, some countries in Europe are growing at minus growth rates, or maybe in America where the economy is pretty much maybe 0.something% growth over the last 5 years. So I think the time is now. Africa is where you can really get the opportunity. So I think it's now left for us to decide where we want to play. If we want to be value-oriented, if we want to be value-oriented, to be able to create all the opportunities, or the best opportunities over the next 5 to 10 years, you have to be here. And when I'm talking of opportunities, whether it's technology enabled, it can be technology enabled or not technology enabled. And really, let me just use one example. When you walk pretty much on every street in Lagos, you find someone selling Richard card, maybe detergent, like all the smaller stores. So what separates you from a mall is that, like Kelechi mentioned, you've gone to school, the education is there. Number 2 is you have the exposure, and if retail is something that you're very extremely passionate about, then it's possible for you to create a chain of convenience store. And what you need to do in convenience store in a place like Nigeria is maybe just rent out, I don't know, maybe a 10 square meter or 5 square meter space, and start doing what the smaller people are doing, pretty much. And by the time you have 5, 10, or 20 of these stores, you start understanding the power of cash flow. Because maybe all the mall is doing every single day is maybe generating 10,000 naira. But by the time you count 10 stores, that 10,000 naira becomes 100,000 every single day. By the time you have 20 of that, it becomes 200,000. And when you do the multiple 200,000 in 30 days, what does that give you? Anyone?
6 million.
6 million. Let's say your margin, I don't know, let's say your margin is 10% of that. How much do you get from that?
600,000 naira.
There are very few jobs, white-collar jobs in Nigeria that will pay you 600,000 naira in maybe with 5 years experience. I'm not sure the kind of skills or the skill set you have to be able to earn that kind of money. Then the other thing you experience while doing that is, I think startups or creating your business affords you the opportunity to be able to learn as quickly as possible and then mature into something bigger, whether that will turn into a chain of stores, because 10 stores, 20 stores in a space of 3 years can turn into 1,000 stores in the space of 10, 15 years. And 1,000 stores, you can take that company public in Nigeria. Once you sell a very good story, people will buy into that story. And the other thing about, just using that example, the other thing about retail is extremely resilient. It's extremely resilient in the sense that when you have maybe economic downturn, there are still some things that people have to buy. You have to wash your clothes. You still have to buy Indomie. You still have to buy Richard card to be able to talk to your uncle, maybe to beg him or her for money or auntie, to beg him or her for money to send to you. But there are just some essential, basic needs that people on a day-to-day basis, on an hourly basis, or second basis, you still have to buy. So retail is just one example of the 1,000 or 2,000 things that you can do. And I think the key thing I mentioned when I started talking was the whole issue of creating value. Just when you see problems, when people are shouting, Nigeria is a crazy country, you just try and see what are the opportunities in this country. Why do we, when you get to airport hotels or even in certain places, you see a lot of white people. What are they doing here when there are no opportunities? When all we're seeing is problems or challenges? Why are they here? They're here to make money. Or why will an Indian man come in with a briefcase, maybe in 2014, and in 5 years, the guy is already an establishment in Nigeria. And what I mean by an establishment is pretty much anybody in Nigeria, you can, maybe it's just a phone call thing. So what are we doing wrong? One of the questions you need to start asking yourself is, do I have what it takes? Or this guy has more than I have in terms of education, in terms of exposure, in terms of knowledge. And if you are getting into any industry, I think it's also important, or getting into any trade or any form of enterprise, you also need to equip yourself in terms of knowledge about the industry, who are your competitors, how are you going to make money, what are your markets, where are you going to source from, and pretty much, why are you taking this business? You want to sell the business, or you want to grow the business, or you want to, do a JV with a bigger partner. There are a lot of opportunities in the country, and like I said, I think the time is now. And it's just a question of time. This whole, the best job in town is being a politician. It's all going to change because, corruption, the whole entitlement thing will go after a period of time. I'm not sure exactly how long it will take to disappear. I don't think it will disappear because it's always part of governance and politics and all that. But what you start seeing, we're going to start seeing transfer of power from people in politics to people in business. And Dangote is a good example. A lot of people talk, say, Dangote, of course, Dangote has benefited from guys in politics, Kampuchea guys. The answer is yes, he has benefited. But he has also positioned himself to benefit. So the question is, what exactly are you doing over the next 5 years or over the next 10 years that a lot of things are going to evolve, a lot of industries will expand? Are you tapping into those opportunities? And tapping into those opportunities is just, like Ayodeji said, your passion, your interest, and of course your education, the exposure to the industry you want to get involved with. And it's just about starting small. If you start with one store today, in 48 months, maybe you have 3 stores, it's okay. In 5 years, maybe you have 20 stores. Then in 10 years, you'll be somewhere else. And I think the analogy around starting up businesses is pretty much in terms of how much you learn personally and professionally. That's where you can learn the most, being on your own, and also trying to learn from whether you have a co-founder or you have fellow entrepreneurs, or you have a group, maybe a mentorship group or a network that you can benefit from them. And I also think that it's very important for you to understand that in a paid employment, the amount of money you can possibly make if you're not a shareholder in paid employment is capped. And then the downside is unlimited. In a startup, of course, the downside is also unlimited. But if you get it right, if things come together, the upside is uncapped. So, like I said, if you exit the company, money in your pocket. If you do a JV, money in your pocket. If you do an IPO, money in your pocket. Or if you sell, money in your pocket. And honestly, I think there are opportunities. The opportunities are just so much in Nigeria. Whether you're talking of franchising, there are franchising opportunities in Nigeria, licensing opportunities in Nigeria. Microsoft is here. And I think my key question back to Microsoft is, as an entrepreneur or as someone sitting down inside this room, that your ecosystem. I'm interested in your ecosystem. How can I become a Microsoft partner? So I think those are the kind of conversations we should be having. What are the margins? How can I become a partner? Do I need a 3-year audited account, or I can just register myself as a vendor of Microsoft? No, well, okay, something interesting there. Of course, I might also decide to get it. So, because opportunities are everywhere, it's just our consciousness to those opportunities. And I think the most important thing is, once you raise your consciousness about opportunities, you start seeing opportunities. When there is hold up, or whether there is a go-slow somewhere, you see things. When people are complaining, oh Lord, when am I going to get up without seeing things that any other person or most people are not seeing? So I think it's just a little bit of paradigm shift, and for people to start seeing opportunities. Even though Nigeria is really a very hard country, it's very difficult for businesses to thrive and survive in Nigeria. But I think Nigeria is the best place to be, honestly. Thank you very much.